Hey there, welcome or welcome back to my channel, Diana and the Book Hunt. In today's video, I'm going to be wrapping up the month of January with you because it was kind of a hectic month, a bit of a weird month because it's a long month, I tend to read a lot in January because it's also winter, I'm more at home, I have more kind of inclination to read more when it's winter, but I started off the month really sluggish and almost slumpish. I read only 10 books at the start of the month where I did a recent reads. I'm going to link it up in the cards if you want to check that out if you haven't seen it yet. So it started off a bit slow, but then at some point halfway through the month I got in a roll and I finished quite a few books. So the first portion of January I finished 10 books. You can check it out in the video up in the cards. And then I DNF'd 2 books. I'm briefly going to mention them. And after that I finished another 16 books. So I'm going to focus my wrap up on those books that I haven't discussed yet. For some of the books I've already posted videos because they were part of reading vlogs or the KU readathon that I participated in. I'm going to link them up in the cards as well so you can check them out. So I'm not going to discuss them in detail, so this video doesn't get too long. I'm going to be posting a reading vlog that focuses on Lucia Franco's Off Balance series upcoming week, so I'm not going to discuss those here either. I'm just going to mention which ones I finished by the end of the month. And I am only going to go into detail for the books that I actually did not talk about yet in any of the videos that I've posted by now. So let me just start off with the DNFs and then the ones that are already part of videos that I've already posted, and then you can go ahead and check out the books that I haven't discussed yet. You can fast forward if you have already seen the videos that I'm going to discuss, but yeah, just a quick snippet of book rating, maybe some tropes. I'll see how that goes. I'm going to start with the DNFs here. The first one is Strictly on Ice by Helen Buckley. I picked this one up because on one evening I was thinking about my favorite books, one of them being From Look Off with Love by Mariana Zapata, and I was like, oh, I would love to find another type of romance that is similar to that one. So I did a Google search of like ice skating romances, and this one came up and it had a decent rating on Goodreads, so I was like, okay, let me look it up. Turns out I have it on Storytel, so I started to listen to it, but first of all it was in third-person narration, so I really couldn't get into it. And then the second thing is that it involves 2 figure skaters who used to be partners who have had some kind of a falling out, and then she participates in a program like Dancing on Ice and he's the judge. And just while it has potential, this kind of a plot, just the third-person narration and the fact that I didn't vibe with the heroine very well. I was like, I don't want to subject myself to listening to something that I don't like at this moment because I was really on a roll with the books that I was reading, so I DNF'd it. And I'm not sad about it. I think that this may be good for people who are okay with third-person narration because it's also a very short book, so it wouldn't like put you into a reading slump per se. I believe it's just a me thing for this one, so I really just put it aside and I don't think I'll pick it up again. The second one is The Longing of Lone Wolves by Lana Pecherczyk, if I'm pronouncing the name correctly. This book I saw, again, I had it in my library on Storytel, and it's like a paranormal shifter romance, and I was like, I really want to start getting into those types of stories because I haven't read very many of those. And on the cover there is this gorgeous guy, and let's be honest, I was kind of fooled by the cover. I really wanted to like this one because it has a gorgeous cover. I've fallen into that trap many times over. So I started it up, and as I was going into it, I was like, it seems very cliche, very kind of almost like corny or boring. I don't know how to exactly describe it, but I really wasn't vibing it with it very well. And already like at the 15% mark or so, I was like, I don't think I can get past my feeling of dread when I'm listening to this. So I put it aside and I was like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be starting my shifter experience with this series. I probably should look up something that is very well loved by other people that I should start with. So I put it aside and I was like, I'm not mad about it. I need to DNF more books this year, so I don't feel like I'm forcing myself to read something that I don't like. So I'm completely fine with it. I DNF'd it, and let me know if you think that I should continue with this series if it gets any better. But at this moment, I'm like, no, thank you. So next up, I'm going to tell you that I finished Twist and Dismount by Lucia Franco. Those are books 4 and 5 within the Off Balance series. I finished the first 3 in the first part of January, and all of the books for me are 5-star reads. I'm going to talk about them in the reading vlog that I'm going to post in a couple of days' time. And yeah, this is all I'm going to say. I don't want to spoil anything about my feelings about those books. 5 stars should tell you enough. And we're moving on. After the Dismount and Twist books by Lucia Franco, I started up a couple of historical romances because I did my first historicals reading vlog that I'm going to link up in the cards. This vlog took me on a spin because I didn't expect to love the books as much as I did. I read The Duchess Deal by Tessa. I gave that one 5 stars. I read The Lady Gets Lucky by Joanna Shupe. That one I gave 4 stars. And then the last one was again The Magic by Lisa Kleypas, and that one I gave 5 stars as well. So it was a very successful reading vlog and reading experience for me in general. I'll definitely be reading more historical romances in the future, and you can check out my thoughts on all these books in the vlog that I posted. Now, after that, I participated in a readathon where I read, I think, 6 books. The first one being Personal by Alexandria House. I gave that one 3.5 stars. Wasn't a favorite, was so-so. I think like the best thing to describe it, it's a sports romance. It involves BDSM. There is a heroine who is the dominant and the hero is the submissive, and it was a fun time, nothing too special. You can check out my thoughts in the KU wrap-up that I posted. And then I also read Dr. Grant by Catharina Maura. This is the second book within a series by Catharina Maura. I read the first one at the start of January, which is called Until You. That one is a brother's best friend romance. Well, this one is kind of a forbidden romance because it's between a doctor and his patient. And the patient is also his boss's granddaughter, which makes it even more taboo. And I gave that one 4 stars. I liked it much more than the first book, and I definitely will read more by this author to see how I vibe with her other books. And then I also read Locked Up Liars by Elle Thorpe. This one is a wide choose romance between a woman, her sister's ex. He was framed for her sister's murder, so he goes to jail, and she has a wide choose relationship between him, the prison ward, and then the lawyer who she's hired to try to get him out. So those are the 3 love interests within this kind of suspenseful romance, which was okay. I gave it 3.5 to 4 stars. I didn't get too involved in all the romantic relationships yet. It's more the suspenseful part in the first book that is the driving force within the story, so I need to read on to see how I'm going to like it further. And then I read a duet, which is Heartbreak Me and Heartbreak You by T.L. Smith. I was really surprised by this one. I expected less of it, and I was pleasantly surprised that I liked it so much. This one is a mafia captive, kind of opposites attract, reluctant hero, very kind of almost like a badass heroine. And it has something that kind of worked for me. I don't know that if everyone will like this one, because there are some parts within the story that are kind of but I really liked it. I don't know, I had a lot of fun with it. I gave both the books 4 stars. So yeah, those were the 2 books that I also finished for this readathon. And then one more book that I read for the readathon that I liked the most was 3 Simple Rules by Nikki Sloane. I've read many other Nikki Sloane books, so I know typically that they're very spicy, steamy, taboo, and this one was no different from the others. Actually, I don't know what it was, but this one I found the most kind of spicy out of all the books that I've read by Nikki Sloane. And it's a boss employee story where we have a woman who, because of certain circumstances, feels like she needs to go into escorting to pay off kind of a debt. And she has this agreement to participate in this escorting business where she is blindfolded, and a person negotiates the deal for her to have someone do stuff to her for money. And it turns out that the guy who pays for her time is her boss. So I really liked that one. I don't know what it was, but it was really a fun time for me. I gave this one 4 stars, and I definitely will work through the series. That is, the first one is 3 Simple Rules, and then there's, I believe, 2 more books within this series, so I'll definitely read those 2 as well. Now I'm going to move on to the books that I haven't discussed yet in any videos before. There's a couple of books that I genuinely really liked, and a couple of them that I really disliked, and the first one I'm going to mention is one of the 2-star reads that I had, which is called Lust by Ker Dukey. It's part of a 7-book series which focuses on the 7 deadly sins. It's called The Elite 7. This book follows our hero Red, who at the start of the book has a traumatic experience where his little brother gets killed in an accident, and because of the circumstances of the accident, he feels guilty for his brother's death. And for some reason or other, he thinks that his maybe redemption, or maybe the revenge that he can get on the situation that happened, is to join this university secret society called the Elite 7. And together with his best friend, they do their best to kind of get the attention of this society so that they can get recruited to see if they can get entry into it. And they do get recruited, and they need to participate in these tasks that they need to complete so they can enter the society. And Red is selected to be one of the deadly sins, which is lust. And he needs to complete a task where he needs to seduce the principal's stepdaughter, have sex with her, and then film her so that they can use the tape as like a blackmail material. And he feels like he cannot do that because he has met her before, and he has some kind of a pull with her, like an attraction with her, if you will. So this is how the story starts and evolves, and I just didn't like how it was progressing. I don't know, it started off really well with how the accident happened and how he was really tortured by what happened, but then I felt like he was stuck in his misery, and I really didn't get the point in him joining the society at all. I just didn't know, was it like as part of a redemption story? Was it because he's seeking a revenge? Was it because this society can do something for him that will make him like progress in life? Or what was the point in joining this society? I just didn't get it, and I really didn't like the plot with the principal stepdaughter, because it was very insta-lovey for me. So really, this one I really genuinely didn't like. I gave it 2 stars, and I will definitely not continue on with the series. For the next one, I was browsing my Storytel library to see what kind of interesting books I can find on there, and I found a book which is called Through the Lens by K.M. Jackson. This book has a really gorgeous cover on Storytel, but when I started to read it, I looked it up on Goodreads, and I found that this book is actually published quite a while ago, maybe in 2010, 2011 or something, with a completely different cover. Now it's being republished, probably because of the audiobook that has come out. And I think that the story would have been amazing if it had been written nowadays, because it does have a very interesting premise, but because the hero is very much the 2010s type of hero, like the alpha, don't give priority to anyone but myself type of hero. It just didn't work very well for me. The book is about Mika and Alejandro, who have been working together for many years. Alejandro is a world-renowned photographer, and she has been his assistant for many years. But she has been feeling like she wants to branch out on her own. She wants to do photography by herself, basically, and she has applied for this job where she has been accepted, and she's kind of wondering how to break the news to him because they've been very close. And she actually has feelings for him, so she's been pining for him for many years. And they have this job where they need to go to this island to scout locations for the job that they need to do, and that's where they kind of feel like they have an attraction to each other, so they act on it. And I believe that I really got the sense that for her it was like the last resort, like she's been pining for him for years and she's finally giving in to the attraction, but it's more like a goodbye type of situation for her. While for him, because he doesn't know that she's going to leave him, he feels like, wow, finally we're acting on our attraction, so finally we can start something together and see how this is going to go. So for him it's more like a start of a relationship. So the two of them were not on the same line to start off with. And the thing that kind of ruined this book for me is how he reacted when she told him that she's going to be branching out on her own. He really acted so immaturely, like the typical alpha hero, like, how are you going to leave me and I'm going to ruin your life, or like your chances in the fashion world if you do this, and you need to find me another assistant, but I'm going to do everything in my powers not to like the other assistant, so you cannot leave me. And I'm like, why do you do that? How do you feel like she's going to want a relationship with you if you're acting like a complete asshole? So this book, while it had the potential to be more, it wasn't. So I gave this book 3 stars. I was in the mood at some point last month to pick up more suspenseful books. That's why I picked up Lust. And now I'm going to talk about the other book that I picked up that I found was suspenseful, which is Secrets Kill by Laurel Nigh. This book is a why choose suspenseful kind of dark romance where we have Kate, who is part of a crime investigation team, who, whenever there is like a murder, she goes to collect the evidence, so kind of like CSI team. And on her latest case that she's assigned to, she finds out that the victim is her sister. She didn't know that she had a sister because she herself has been adopted, but when she sees that it's her sister that has been murdered, she gets very involved in what has happened to her. She goes to this trial where we find out that 5 very, like, I think it was 5 very prominent and very rich men were the suspects of her murder, but they get acquitted. They don't get convicted. So she's like, I want to find out what really happened and get revenge for the death of my sister. So she starts to look into her life to try to get to know her. She goes to her roommates, and the white shoes situation is between her roommates. There are 2 guys who are, I believe, twins. Her partner, Kate's partner, and then there's another guy at the station with whom she has some kind of an attraction. So there's, I believe, 4 guys in total with whom she has romantic situations with, although in the first book we only see 3 of them acting on their attraction to her. But I don't know what it was, but I really just didn't vibe well with the heroine because she seemed very mousy at the start of the book. And because the 2 guys, the roommates, they were trying to kind of glam her up, and then she really, the whole time she was like, I don't get what people are seeing in me. And I'm like, if there's 4 gorgeous guys who are after you, there needs to be a reason for you to start believing that you're worth it, right? And the whole time she was just so insecure about herself that it started to really bug me, and that's why I really kind of didn't connect well with her. And also this story really focused on the suspenseful kind of aspects of, you know, the murder, and is she going to be able to get those guys? And at some point I really lost track of the romance, so I didn't connect with it very well. So I gave this book 3 stars, and honestly I don't know whether I'm going to continue on with the series, because if I don't vibe well with the heroine, I don't see myself continuing on. So this one is probably going to be the only one within the series that I'm going to stick with. Next up, I'm going to talk about a book that I had a lot of fun with. I do have to start off by saying that when I was preparing my notes for this video, I started to read a couple of Goodreads reviews for it, and I had a good laugh about the reviews that I read about this book. I'm going to mention them in a couple of moments. The book is called Hate to Love by Jennifer Sucevic. This book is a new adult hockey romance. It's hate to love, and it involves fake dating. And what I read in one of the Goodreads reviews is that it's like a like what did she say that it was? Like a knock off The Deal by Elle Kennedy, like a very bad knockoff of that book. And I do get why they're saying that, but I'm gonna be honest, I had fun with this book. It's like a 3.5 to 4 star read for me, because I really had fun with it. It involves Brody, who is the star defense man within the hockey team, and he is like every girl's dream come true. And the only exception to this is Natalie, who is our heroine. She definitely dislikes him. She wants nothing to do with him. And that is basically what is the driving force for him to want to know why that is. He just is very intrigued by her lack of interest in him. And there's this frat party that they both attend, and Natalie's ex, who is Brody's teammate, he does a very dirty move on her. He says to everyone that she's very bad in bed. So to save her reputation, Brody offers a fake dating deal where he is going to remedy her reputation in this, because he's like the best of the best, you know? So he's going to say to everyone, I wouldn't have interest in someone if she's bad in bed or something like that. So yeah, basically they strike up this deal of fake dating, and he gets his chance to spend more time with her and figure out why this dislike and why or how he can get her to fall for him. So yeah, well, this wasn't like the best type of romance. I wouldn't say that it's like a wow read, and I think that probably in a couple of months time I will have forgotten about this book. While I was reading it, I had fun with it, so I can definitely not say that it was a bad book or a bad experience for me. Like I said, it's like a 3.5 to 4 star read for me, and I definitely want to pick up more by this author, because there was very cute banter, and like I mentioned, I really had fun with it. So I definitely want to see whether I'm going to like more by this author. The last book that I picked up last month, I have to say, I'm still saying this month, but it's already February. So the last book that I picked up in January is called The Lost Elemental by Tessa, Hale. It's part of a paranormal series called Royals of Kingwood Academy. And I picked this book up because, like I mentioned before, I really want to pick up more paranormal romances, because I haven't read almost any. And I saw that a couple of booktubers have started to get into this series, and I was like, okay, I have it on audio and Storytel, so I want to pick this one up. I only have the first 2 books on Storytel. I'm still waiting on the 3rd book to come out, but in January I finished the first one. The book centers on a why choose involvement between our heroine and 4 guys. It is set in high school, but I think it's marketed as new adult because they're 18 in the book. And we find out at the beginning of the story that they live in a world where there are people who have elemental powers. And basically when they're in high school, they have this ritual where they get tested if you have any of the powers. And there are certain people who can have more than one of these elements that they control. And the elements are all like the earthly elements, like wind, fire, water, and earth. And basically there are 4 kingdoms where we have 4 princes who each of them is part of one of the elementals that they can govern. And Aura, our heroine, gets tested during this ceremony, and she finds out that she is an elemental, that she has control over some of these elements. And she didn't know that she had that because she believes that both of her parents didn't have any powers, so it's very out of the ordinary that she has these powers. So she gets sent to this academy to find out where her strengths are, and in the end of the process she will again get tested to see how many of those powers she can control. When she gets to this academy, she meets all of the 4 princes. 3 of them are, for some reason or other, captivated by her, and one of them is absolutely kind of standoffish to her, and he doesn't want anything to do with her. But she does feel like a push and pull with every one of them for some reason. And I'm not going to ruin any more than I have about this plot. If you want to know more about this story, do pick it up yourself, because I really, really enjoyed this one. If I think about it, when I was reading it, I really felt like the plot was very similar to the Bonds series by J. Bree, but this one is done so much better because I really understood the paranormal setting, the world that they're within. I understood the relationships between the heroine and the guys that are chosen for her as her love interests, while in the Bonds series I just didn't get it. I couldn't follow through after 3 books. I was still unsure of what was going on, while with this one, already at the first book I was very intrigued with how everyone connects to everyone, and I immediately continued on with the series because, like I mentioned, I had the second book. But the second book I finished in February, so I'm going to talk about that one in the next wrap up. So yeah, basically all of the books that I read this month are scattered here and there throughout different videos. I'm going to link them up in the cards like I mentioned, and if you have read any of these books that I've just mentioned and you want to talk about them, please let me know either on Instagram. You can DM me there, or you can write a comment below, and I hope to see you very soon in the next one. Have a wonderful, marvelous day. Happy reading. Take care, and bye-bye.